This is an absolute demolition job, a positional masterpiece.
It's the Speed Chess Championship Finals in London, played on the 8th of February, and this is hands down the greatest positional game of the entire match. I mean, it's so good that we even have to track the knight moves. It truly was a night to remember for world number one, mouthwash chewing gumson. He was playing with the black pieces in this game. Alireza, Gucci-Reza Firouzja, king of fashion, had white. They're in the studio opposite each other, but they're playing online at the computers. The score is 6-7.
Really?
And this is just incredible. Let's dive in right now. After pawn c4, we get e6, knight f3 on the board, an anti-Nimzo Indian variation, and so Carlsen chucks in this bishop b4 check, the BOGO Indian defense it's called, and you can block in many different ways. He was playing this all match with great success. In this game, we see knight b to d2, and Magnus goes pawn b6. Now, this opening inspired me so much that obviously I've been learning it. This b6 move features in basically every variation. Pawns on dark squares. Note that. I'm showing a few other variations at the side here while we carry on. Magnus takes, gives up the bishop. Why would you do this and leave white with the bishop there? Very, very nice. Well, it's because you're going to see bishop b7 going for a grip. In some games we saw f3 and Magnus put the knight here and queen out and f5. But here, b3 and d6. And this is the point of the pawns on dark squares. The dark squared bishop given up. You're going for e5. You're going for c5. This dark squared grip. It's so instructive. Have a look at Lotus Chess down in the description. I've been practicing this opening all day because it's so much fun. And Magnus used it with such good success. Seriously, try it out. It's free to get started. Knight b to d7 here. And pawn e3 was met by queen e7. And the game changes completely. Because Alireza puts the bishop on d3. And he offers Magnus a free pawn. Obviously, Magnus at this point is salivating like a rabid dog, the chewing gum in full flow there, so he munches on that pawn.
Mushrooms.
This rook slides over, hits the bishop, drops back, and now Alireza takes here. He makes a kind of gobble, gobble, gobble noise, as many of the top players do, but only when they eat a g-pawn. Now we see castle's queenside. Andrea's spinning those beats, of course. And look at the position. How exciting is this? Who doesn't want to play this with black? Move 12. I mean, I love this BOGO Indian defense thing. I really am trying it out. It's so much fun. The rook's challenged, and Alireza backs up. So he's saying, please take, repair my pawn structure. Magnus not having it. He thrusts the h-pawn down the board here. What an aggressive move. Castle's queenside. How does he carry on? Obviously pawn h4. Super aggression. Hit the rook. It drops back now. And after king b8, Alireza makes a positional mistake that costs him big time. He should play pawn f4. This is really instructive because it fights against this e5 break. And if black tries it anyway, well, you're opening up the board for the bishops. And critically, this pawn sat on e3 controls the f4 square. This is good for white. So we run back. Alireza plays the really natural pawn e4. So Daenerys guides this trio of dragons down the board in the centre, but f4 critically weakened here. Watch what Magnus does. He starts with e5, locking down the position. Good for the knights, bad for the bishops. Now we see rook takes on g1, rook recaptures, and this isn't the idea. b4 can then come. So Magnus plays to f1. f8 rather, with that knight spinning around. I mean, this right here is why he practices down at the training camps in Oslo. It's for games, it's for big clutch moments like this. We can see what's on the way, going to clamp town on f4, and so you could actually play f4 here as white. You give a pawn, but you open the bishop and you get some activation, even if it's not such a great move. Or c5 is a very decent try for counterplay. Again, you give a pawn, but you weaken the structure, or you weaken the structure, and you clear the square for 1, 2, 3 pieces to start participating in counterplay against the black king. Alireza doesn't go for either break. He instead puts the knight back on f1, also playing to maneuver, but now where's the counterplay here? That knight's not getting to c4 in a hurry, so Magnus carries on with his plan. Bishop c2, that's what we call an absolute stinker in the business, a very bad bish. Now we see this knight hop, this is why the bishop dropped back. Alireza didn't want to get forked and give up the bishops, although who would really care when it looks like that? Queen goes away, and now another classy move, improving one of the worst pieces. Great chess policy. Bishop c8. It was biting on granite. Every move has a purpose, has a flow. Always played king b1. And now this is my absolute favourite move of the game. Because now which piece do we improve? What's the plan? King looks good. Bishop not bad. Queen needs to improve, but it's stuck behind the knight. Do you go with the rook maybe? Maybe. Do you push the pawn? No. The knight gets out. What to do? Let's maybe move the knight. Get the queen in the game. But where? Magnus plays knight h7. And it didn't dawn on me just how beautiful this knight maneuver is until we see how the game heads. The knight now heads to e3, looking at f5. Magnus picks up a tempo on the queen. She drops back. You know, she can't get active here. She can't get active here. This square is now covered. This square is covered. You know, there's barely any squares. The black piece is swarming. Queen f6 now from Magnus. So classy. Stopping knight f5 because now there's this. Whoop. And you win the pawn because you're actually about to win a piece. And there's some tactical lines, but black always emerges better. So the knight didn't jump here. Instead, we saw pawn f3 to bolster that centre. But now here we go. The maneuver complete from here to here to here. I mean, how cool is that? And the rook can't stay on the g-file. Everything's covered. I mean, absolutely everything. So the rook has to go away. And there's the lane. Magnus hits it with a cannonball. And before you can say, Hikaru, you're a little bit old to be playing with baby dolls.
He's going to be too old to even compete. Like, my reign is going to last so long that he's going to be at the age of, like, just like, he can't even walk anymore, and I'm still going to be winning.
Alireza gains space over there, looking for the counterplay. So Magnus fiankettos the knight. We love to see it. And again, it's such a difficult question. This is, of course, a threat. And if takes with the knight, rook recaptures, invading. So Alireza tries this. Best move to fight back. If you take, then you open the rook. And it's some play. So Magnus slides instead. Triple whammy in that knight now. And what to do? How do you save it? You don't. This is one of the best moves. Covering some dark squares there. Magnus now chops the knight off the board. And he's winning a pawn. But not just yet. If you take too soon, white takes on f7. So this knight now heads back to f4. Preparing to pick up the pawn. No h3 or knight takes. I mean, look at these guys. It's just masterful. Alireza goes for the play here. Of course he does. The engine wanted to sit solid with some bishop d2 business. Magnus now picks up the pawn. And it's a trio of only moves to keep this significant advantage. Alireza doesn't take off the board here. Understandable. He plays this. And of course his long-term primitive idea is snake the queen all the way around, put the pawn on and c6, checkmate the king. But Magnus is alive to it. Queen h3 in response, and he stops queen c3. He pressures the pawn and the something else, because after pawn to c ships, he can now play knight e3, and he double hits the rook with the knight and the queen. So even though this knight's hanging, if you take it, you win the rook here. I mean, how astonishing are these moves? He's so on top of the tactics. So the rook moves away here, but now Magnus can hop once more. An explosive horsey hits the queen, hits the pawn, and what to do? She saves herself. Another pawn drops. Now the king is getting ripped to shreds. I mean, how has he wandered round from here to here to here to here? What a game this is. King a2 played. Knight takes bishop now, cashing in. Rook recaptures, and knight d3 is the strongest move, but Magnus plays queen d3, and Alireza resigns the game. Low on time, he's seen enough. You really have to take that queen. It's hitting too much stuff. So this is the top line. Knight recaptures, hitting a pawn. King defending like this is one of the top moves. b3 also possible. And the rook invades, basically. You're about to win a piece. Not so many good squares to put it on. Here's one idea. Obviously, this is another. Whatever you do, there's problems left, right, and centre. Things like this. And this doesn't quite give enough play. The king scurries away. The pawns are marching really fast. The king's exposed. b5 could come at the right moment. It's just all over if you try and take and play on. Unbelievable scenes. Magnus took the entire match, but it was a close one. Hope you enjoyed, and if you want to see another game in this phenomenal new Bogo Indian defense line, have a look at the video on screen. It was just unreal. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you soon. Cheers.